Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to the MMA.Dungeon. My name is Shady B'Shay. In this video, we're giving BKFC a try. So we're going to go to KnuckleMania 5 at the Wells Fargo Center in Philly. I hit up Damon Feldman, who's the brother of David Feldman, the president of the promotion, and he hooked me up with 2 seats, and I think they're pretty good seats. We're going to be sitting in row 1 of section 101, so I think that's real close to the ring. Hopefully we're sitting around a couple of the big names that have confirmed that they're going. I don't know what to expect really. Damon was very nice and kind to me when he spoke, and he sent me these. He actually got these mailed out to me this week, so it really all came together last minute, very similar to my Sphere experience. And so I'm going to take you guys on that journey. I'm going to have my camera, my mic, and you know, we don't know what to expect, but we'll figure it out when we get there. All right, we made it to the Wells Fargo Center. We're sitting in the parking lot, just currently waiting for the doors to open up. There seems to be a line forming already. We stopped at Shay's Philly Cheesesteaks. Got to meet some of the area Hawani crew. It was a good time. They're very friendly. So let me show you guys the line, kind of where we're situated. Doors open up at 7, so we're quite a bit early. Yeah, it looks like a good turnout at the Wells Fargo Arena. And our next stop should be inside, rather close to the BKFC ring. All right, and just like that, we're inside. Check this out. This is very interesting to see the ring as opposed to the UFC octagon. Looks like there's a little walkout section. A lot of cool freebies and gifts they've given people here. Yeah, not sure who we're gonna meet or see, but yeah, can't wait. Very excited.
UFC, baby! What the fuck is that? Hell fucking head!
That was a crazy knockdown.
Oh my god! Oh my god, brother dragon.
Oh shit. Damn. He's getting carded up. He's gonna get carded up.
I got. Take his fucking rounds!
Alright, well, my plan of having this video pieced together and uploaded within a day of KnuckleMania 5 never came to fruition, but here we are, back home. I'm going to share with you guys some thoughts that I had now that I've been to the event. I've seen kind of what it's like. I'm going to spoil it right now. I had an amazing time. I had an incredible time. KnuckleMania 5 is BKFC's biggest show, and so I don't know if this is going to speak for every single event they have. They have some that feel a little bit more regional than others. KnuckleMania 5 would be their kind of Super Bowl or WrestleMania. This show definitely, they showed out. They went above and beyond, I think, what they typically do. But I think for the most part, this will apply to just the vibe of seeing the sport of bare knuckle taking place as opposed to something like UFC or MMA. So let's start with the energy. The energy in the crowd is unmatched. It's insane. I've been to the UFC. I've been to some regional MMA shows. BKFC wins, and they win by a lot. I don't know if it's their target audience or if it's the hype man that they have running around giving out shirts. It's just the energy is unmatched. It's ridiculous. And it really matches the sport because the sport itself is also very high energy. It's knockout after knockout after knockout. And we'll get to that in a second. But just in general, when you walk in, it's electrifying. There's really nothing like it. And I've been to really big UFC events, and the energy at BKFC really just surpasses it by far. If you were sitting anywhere in that arena, you can feel how electrifying it was. The energy really was incredible, and the sport lends itself to that. The audience probably lends itself to that, but also they did a really, really good job putting this card together. There weren't a lot of huge names. Of course, the main event was a huge name, the co-main was huge names, and some of the BKFC fighters are, getting up there in their star power, but for the most part, it was a lot of regional fighters. But the crowd itself was people coming to see those regional fighters. It felt like every time someone would come out, a different section of the arena would stand up and really stand out as supporting that person. But there was a lot of Philly fighters on the card, obviously, and I don't think they won all their fights. Obviously, the main event didn't go in Philly's way, but for the most part, there were enough Philly wins that people seemed to be satisfied. Now let's talk about some of those things they did to kind of go above and beyond. They gave out gifts throughout the entire arena. It seemed like everywhere you turned, there was something being given out. A little mini replica BKFC champion belt and a duffel bag full of goodies. I know that the seats right in front of me that had the image printed on them, the novelty special event seats, those were taken home. It felt like they really, it was a homecoming, and they were very appreciative that the arena was sold out. 17,000 people were there, and it really felt like a huge family in a weird way. One thing that I think they have going for them is that they don't really need the star power that a lot of other promotions need. There will never be somebody who I think truly competes with the UFC, and the reason is because of the fighters. The production is great, and they have a product that I think nobody has really matched yet, but the fighters and the stories that go behind them, the history behind the fighters and the belts and who it went from to who, that really is what stands out for the UFC. With the BKFC, I noticed that they don't really need those backstories. They don't really need it because they're a sport that kind of forces these reactions, it forces these knockouts. The ring is very small, and in person it felt even smaller than it does in the screen. And so the ring being small, the rule set not allowing grappling, kicking, you're really cornered into, no pun intended, you're cornered into a knockout, right? And I think we saw the judge scorecards only a handful of times, and there was quite a few fights. So because the sport kind of forces these knockouts, you almost don't need that backstory. A few weeks ago, the UFC had a title fight for the Bantamweight Championship, Umar versus Merab. If you're a fan of either one of those guys, you kind of knew that it was going to go to the judges' scorecards. I don't think anybody expected a knockout. So you kind of need the story for you to be entertained by that fight. Of course, the grappling, the wrestling is all great, but to capture kind of a broader audience, you need some sort of story. People know, Umar is this person's cousin, Merab is this cardio beast who's been on such a long winning streak. You need that backstory. With BKFC, you almost don't need that backstory. One of the guys that came out, I think, was like a local electrician, and then he was fighting another regional fighter, but you don't really need to know who they are because one of them got starched in the first, minute, laid out flat, and so that shock kind of replaces the backstory, and that's what BKFC has going for them. That's what, in my opinion, is going to give them that longevity. It's going to make it a lot easier for them to capture an audience because it's very cheap to get fighters, regional fighters, and when your rule set kind of forces these moments, it replaces the need for the backstory or the history of the fighters. Of course, this is a huge generalization. There's still really big names that are making their way into BKFC. Alvarez and Stevens being the main event was, two former UFC fighters, one of which was a champion. And so it's not to say that they, wouldn't benefit from big names. I just don't think they really need it, especially now. And I'd be doing you guys a bit of a disservice to not mention the fact that it was a little bit gut-wrenching. There were moments in there where I thought, I can't believe that this is a sanctioned sport. I am a huge fan of all combat sports, and I think, I've never once felt like BKFC shouldn't have been sanctioned. But when you're there in person, especially the first fight, if you watch KnuckleMania 5, the opening fight, when you see somebody get knocked down and get back up and knocked down and get back up, and they're just bloody and bleeding everywhere, it almost feels like animalistic. You can't help but feel something inside of you, and it makes me wonder, should this have been sanctioned? Have we gone too far? Now, MMA gets bloody and gory all the time, but it's just something about bare knuckle, them getting down, you giving them a counter, and them, they're constantly begging to keep fighting. It really does it almost changes something inside of you is the best way I can explain it. One thing I often criticize about boxing, and I think Dana White has actually mentioned it a couple times, is like in between fights and when a fighter is being announced, it always feels like there's a million people in the ring. And I think BKFC got a little bit of that as well. They should probably work on that, but I don't think they're taking my advice anytime soon. I just do think that it gets a little bit crowded, and it takes away from the professional sport aspect that, once again, it seems like nobody but the UFC has figured out. And I know that BKFC is not directly trying to compete with the UFC, but if it's a formula that works in the combat sport world, they might as well kind of take a page out of their book. And so maybe if the pacing is, they got the pacing pretty much down, and they could probably improve it just a little bit to get really up to par. Maybe working on just how many people are either in or around the ring would polish it a little bit more. But another part of me kind of does feel like that's part of the attraction. Like, people like the fact that it just feels very underground, local, just like a fighting club type of style. But it's just one of the things that I noticed sitting ringside. Now, to the question of whether or not I recommend you go to a BKFC event, if it wasn't obvious enough, the answer is an absolute yes. You should definitely go to an event if they're near you. I think the price point right now is extremely fair, and it's pretty much affordable by anybody. You can get a seat really cheap and sit a little higher, or you can, I think, spend just like a tad bit more and sit really close to the ring like we did. And so it's a good price point right now for what the product is. As long as you have your expectations set accordingly, you're going to see some blood, you're going to see some gore. There's going to be some moments where you and everybody around you are wondering if that athlete is still alive. But outside of that, the experience is really unmatched, like I said. And I guess part of the reason why I feel like I have to recommend BKFC to people based on my experience and kind of be a voice for the promotion is because it is in many ways regarded as kind of the laughingstock of combat sports. A lot of times it's seen as this animalistic fad that's kind of going to go away and will never be sanctioned across the country. And I think they're, first of all, getting up there in the number of states that are sanctioning them, and two, really polishing their product. David Feldman specifically seems like an incredible person. I could tell that he cares about the fighters, he cares about the viewers, he cares about the promotion and all the employees. I don't think he's trying to compete with the UFC. I really think he's trying to put together an incredible business that helps athletes, that is enjoyable for the viewers, and his story is incredible as well. If you haven't looked into it, I highly recommend it. But I do think it's important for us to try out these new promotions and give them a fair shot and evaluate them accordingly. And with that being said, KnuckleMania 5 was incredible. I don't think I'm going to switch to fully covering BKFC or watching their shows over the UFC or the other MMA promotions I am a fan of, but I've definitely gained a lot of respect for the promotion, the fighters, and I will be watching, and I will be going to any event that I can reasonably drive to in the near future. Now, if you yourself have been to a BKFC event, please do reach out to me and share with me your experience. I'd love to hear about where they were, especially if you've been to one of their earlier shows when they were a bit more regional. They're now selling out the Wells Fargo Arena, and so who knows what they have in store for them. But I'd love to hear about some of the smaller, earlier shows that they've had, because I don't think that they're a very well-covered sport. I think they're just, making a name for themselves now, and I'm excited to see what the MMA or the combat sports media landscape looks like in terms of BKFC going forward. Also, what other promotion is giving out mini belts at their events?